Okay, let's go. So, welcome to this interview, Yubal. We just have this nice workshop here in Cologne, and I thought it's a nice chance for me also because I'm leaving Germany soon to have a last interview with you. I've been working with you now for 5 years in total, and it's just a nice opportunity now, and I'm honored to have you. So to have a nice talking session here.
It's a pleasure.
And maybe reflect a little bit as well about the last 5 years that I was in the process. But maybe for everybody who doesn't know you now, would be nice to have a nice little feedback or where you come from, what's your profession, and how you got here to hand balancing and to be a teacher. And maybe just start a little bit from where you were born, and if you were born in a circus family, or how you were raised and upbringing. So that could be interesting, I think, for many people.
Okay. So I grew up in Israel. And from a very young age, I was kind of one of those hyperactive kids. At some point, I was doing tennis and gymnastics at the same time, around the age of 8, and I decided to go eventually to gymnastics. I think one of the things that my mom tells me back then, I preferred not to compete against someone rather than compete with myself, like in gymnastics, and it kind of led me that direction. I really enjoyed the acrobatic part of it. As a kid, I was climbing on trees and doing kind of stuff like that, and then I was able to transfer my interest into gymnastics. And very fast, I was improving my levels, starting to competing, and from the age of 10, it became my life in a way. And fast forward, I went through a whole career in gymnastics. I made it to the junior national team in Israel, and then national team. And competed in my first World Championships when I was 17 years old, 17 and a half. And then I continued doing gymnastics. When I was 21, I went to the US. I competed in the college league, the NCAA. And for the University of Illinois,
nice.
And got a degree there in communications. And during the 4 years, I continued to practice, to train, and compete for the university. In my senior year and in college, in the beginning of the season, I had a back injury, the first time, a big injury that I have during my gymnastics career. I was able to go back into to competing all around in the end of the season, but after I finished the season, it made me realize that my career as a gymnast was over, and my dreams to go to the Olympics would not materialize. It was for the 2000 Olympic. That was I was aiming for. But I retired from gymnastics, and for a few years tried to do normal jobs that are not related to the body. I tried, and it didn't work very well. Eventually, I found myself moving back into moving my body and into acrobatics, and found the handstand out of curiosity first, and then later on it brought me to the research of this discipline, and also took me towards the circus and performance, which was not something I planned as a young person. So I'm kind of going back and forth, but when I did start doing circus, I found a circus company in Tel Aviv, and I started teaching them acrobatics and also doing some street performance. That was my first experience as a performer. which kind of gave me a little hunger for more. And then at the same time, someone showed me a video of Cirque du Soleil, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And maybe there's something I could do with my background in gymnastics. I already forgot about my back pain. Maybe I ignored it on purpose, but I started like flirting with the idea of maybe to go after that. I was already 30 years old, so it wasn't something that, that was a sure thing, but I decided to go for it, and I started preparing my body for an audition, including also preparation, taking some acting classes, some movement and dance classes because it's part of it, and also because of handstand sparked my interest. I started looking for a teacher, and I was inspired for hand balancing. I was inspired by artist called Samuel Tetron, who was the founder of a Canadian company called Seven Fingers, Doigts de la Main. When reading his biography on the website of this company, I read that his teacher was someone called Claude Victoria. He described it as a legendary handstand master, Claude Victoria, and I was like, okay, interesting. Who's that guy? And I started starting to look and reaching out to Claude, and found another student of his who was a contortionist from Morocco, and I was chatting with her, and she helped me to connect with Claude. And he invited me in for a stage, for a week training with him in 2004, I believe. So I went to train with him for a week in France, and during that week, he kind of gave me the map, the blueprint for hand balancing, because I never had a real training. In hand balancing. I had a very solid gymnastics background, but hand balancing is kind of a different discipline. So after the week with him, I kind of decided, okay, I'm a hand balancer. That's my circus discipline that I'm passionate about and I would like to explore. And about 2 months after the stage with him, I had an audition for a company called Dragon, who had a new show in Vegas. And I went to this audition, and magically 2 weeks after, I got a phone call, and then they offered me a contract in the show, and I said, okay, I'm going away to the circus, and moved to Vegas. So during in the Vegas show, I wasn't a hand balancer. I was hired as a generalist, a general acrobat, who needs to be able to also stand on his hands, but dance and move and act and do aerial acrobatics. So it was a very diverse role, and ended up performing there for 8 years as an acrobat. During which I still continued to develop my own handstand skills. I wasn't full-time hand balancer, but I made it a point of every show, before the show and between the shows, you could always find me in the training room doing my handstands, and then 5 minutes before the show, prepared and went on stage and did my thing there. Then after 8 years, me and my wife, who was also a performer in the show, we decided it was time. I also turned 40, and I decided that it was a good time to retire, my second retirement from, first from gymnastics, then from performance. And then we moved to Europe. And then from a very, literally, a few weeks after I arrived to Europe, people started reaching out. They heard that then I moved to Europe, and then we started organizing workshop in Berlin, in London, and in Schaffenburg. And then from there on, you know, I kind of like more people reached out, and I started kind of touring around Europe on a regular basis. And it's basically what I've been doing for the last 10 years, teaching about average of 20 weekend event per year, where I share my experience with people who are in the beginning of their practice, you know, completely basics, beginner handstanders, and then usually, as we did today in the afternoon, more intermediate, advanced people who can already hold a handstand. And then I help them take their practice further, whether to develop the one-arm handstand or to strengthen the basics to prepare them for that stage where they can move forward and go for the one-arm handstand.
Yeah, thank you for explaining your whole life story, basically. So what I'm interested in is how difficult was it for you to get out of this competitive gymnastics thing? Because like you said, it was your dream to go to the Olympics. So was it hard for you to accept this, or was it like a process making this decision, or was it just at some point you knew, okay, this injury is not going to let me compete on such a high level?
Yeah.
How long, what happened in this process inside you mentally as well? Because I mean, it's, if you have this life dream and you can fulfill it, I mean, many athletes, they gonna fall apart or they break, but for you, you were just like finding a new path. So I guess that was.
I mean, it took me time. I had a pretty, like many athletes, it was a pretty rough process to go through, because from a very young age, my identity was along with being an athlete. You know, so I was Yuval, the competitor, the gymnast, and everything else added to that. And then suddenly in one day, you know, like I didn't go into the competition, the last competition in this, you know, our team made it to the finals of the team finals of the NCAA that year. And, you know, so my focus was to do the best I can in the competition. My back was okay. I managed to do a good competition, not my best, but still a good competition. But the moment I landed, my last routine of the evening, as I landed, I realized that was the last moment in my career, my 20 years career. You know, so it was a very strong moment, but that was, you know, that was the realization. And then it took a while until I was able, you know, I was trying to figure out what was the next thing for me. But I think for most professional athletes or high-level athletes, this issue of the identity is really a big part of it. And then reinventing yourself and channeling your energies and your experience into a different path. Yeah,
because I mean, it's your identity, but in the same time, it's like you invest most of your time daily in this craft, let's say. So there will be lots of free time that you have to fill with something else, you know. So it's, I think, very hard, especially if you do it in such an intense level that you have several hours every day that you invest your time and energy. So it must be also a hard transition to go then. I think you told me once you went to the office then to work in communications, which...
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I had this idea, okay, I'm an athlete and I know how to work hard, but, you know, like like I went through a few corporate jobs, and I wasn't able to get the same satisfaction. Also, I always felt mediocre in what I do after all of my career. I excelled in what I had done. And eventually it made me realize that I need to stop for a while. I went to travel in India a little bit to think a little bit what I want to do. And I came back, and when I came back from India, I didn't come back with any solutions or ideas of what I want to do, but I realized I'm not going to go back into the same path and into the office. And then that's where I started going back, teaching acrobatics to non-athletes, and finding that circus path, and handstand, and rediscovered handstand, which I've done all my career as a gymnast, but not as a hand balancer.
Yeah.
And suddenly finding this passion with this specific discipline really brought a lot of energy, and avoiding the fears that I had about, okay, I'm 30 years old and I'm really going to go to the circus. Is it the right thing to do? But it gave me the confidence that I'm going to go for it and at least give it a try.
Yeah, because it's something interesting, because I think we share the same story, that I also went back to the office like 6 months ago to try to work in the office, working as a personal coach before, coaching people. And then I thought, okay, from a rational point of view, it makes sense now to go also into something more stable. So I had this idea, but then working in there, I realized, so here I cannot fulfill my potential of like helping enough people, which I always wanted to do and which I did before. So it was kind of a weird feeling to be in this place where I'm like, I cannot really fulfill my potential. I'm sitting there in front of the computer, and it felt a bit like, I'm wasting my time, basically. And I'm also not super good in it, and I cannot help as many people as I would like to. So how was it? How much time did you spend in the office to realize, okay, it's not...
Yeah, it was about 2 years. Yeah.
And it was fast that you realized, okay.
2 years, like about 3 different companies, in 3 places I did not feel very valuable for, the organization that I was working for. And also I was like, okay, what am I doing here, really? But since I was stubborn, I was like, okay, I'm going to try again and again, and until at some point I said, okay, I need to stop and rethink what I want to do.
Because it's a very different world, I guess, also for you, because you're working on handstand so much. What I also tell my students, why I like it so much, is this honest work that you do in a handstand practice. Because I feel like in many areas of life you can cheat your way around something, and you just, do something to get like advantages. But in the handstand practice, not so much. It's very honest. Like you can see if somebody's doing the work or if somebody doesn't do the work, even if you're gifted, but still there's a clear process, and you must be, putting in the time and work.
I think, it's, you talk to different hand balancers or different practitioners, everybody has a different story or what led them, for me, I had so many years of handstand. For me, it was I didn't have to, learn to do a handstand from scratch. The opposite. It took me 2-3 weeks to figure out a one-arm handstand just by trial and error. And then after that, then I received the training of a proper one-arm handstand from Claude. And then since my meeting with him, I've been still, working for the last 20 years to refine what I learned with him in my first meeting with him. And the process continues.
Because it's a nice story. You also just told us in the workshop today that you saw all those pictures of your students on the wall, and ever since you're trying to figure out those perfect positions, basically, right? That you've seen. So that's a lot of time and dedication to something that, many people will never even start this process. So what is it that still keeps you like motivated in this thing, this craft, to still invest so much time in it every day, which you still do?
I mean, on a personal level, it's just I'm happy to have found this passion and be able to continue to do it. I don't know how long I'm going to do it, but I don't have any plans to stop. So it's been 40 years that I've been doing handstand. And maybe a little more, and 20 as a hand balancer, and I'm still feeling that I'm learning. So the fact that I'm able to still refine and improve my handstand and learning new skill after so many years, it's something that drives me to continue. Even if I cannot do things that I was able to do as a 20 years old. So as you age, you also need to adapt and change the way you practice, because there's also limitations that come with age that you don't have as a young practitioner.
Yeah, true. And then also I have some people at workshops, sometimes they tell me, yeah, I'm too old to do it, or I'm, and I can always take you as an example, for example, because you're like over 50 now and you still feels like improving. So that's a good sign that also hand balancing is very much, a discipline that you can take to higher ages and you can still teach to older people, I guess. I mean, it takes a bit longer probably, but yeah, it's very possible. And I was very lucky when I chose you, because I know that if I choose you as a teacher, there's a good chance that I can myself be able to do it in my 50s, 60s. I just needed to bring this patience to the table, which was very difficult for me in the beginning, because coming from calisthenics, you just build strength and it's like super fast. But in the handstand now, it's such a slow process. So it's so frustrating sometimes. And now I'm at this point where I'm really enjoying this slow process, but it took like 5 or 6 years now working on it. Where I'm now like completely off this goal, like I need to go somewhere fast, but even I take it more slow and realize I enjoy those practices, even that I don't feel my best, but I'm still showing up, I'm still doing my practice, and it's very nice. So yeah, that was a good example. And I guess it's also, you told me before that you still want to do it in your 70s, 80s probably, if you can. Do you have some injuries, something major that happens now, or are you feeling some pain in your body, or are you completely fine?
You know, the period where I performed in Vegas was very aggressive on the body. I had like 10 shows a week on average, and for the 8 years. So during that 8 years, I had 2 major injuries. I had a back surgery with my lower back, my old injury from gymnastics, the same lower back injury resurfaced, and I had to do the surgery, which was very successful, and I've been doing it ever since. It was 15 years ago, about 15, 16 years ago. And then afterwards, my shoulder, for the first time, I had a labrum tear in my shoulder and also fixed it in a surgery. And ever since then, but I went back to the show full. After both surgeries, I continued my role as an acrobat in the show. And then since I left the show, I didn't have any major injury. So I'm still practicing on a regular basis, doing my own prehab and rehab and taking care of my shoulders. I have aches like a typical 50-year-old, my knee and but all in all, I'm because I'm practicing such consistency, I'm able to also notice when I need to back off and slow down or spend more time on rehabbing certain areas that are inflamed. But for the last 10 years, I've been able to consistently practice daily. I practice 5 to 6 days a week, and continue to teach on a regular basis. So I haven't missed, for example, a workshop, and in all my workshop I demonstrate every skill that I do. So I don't really have a place for. As far as I can teach without demonstrating, but I always prefer to demonstrate every single skill that I teach. It's still very important for me, and I hope to continue to do that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And how is it for your family? Because you have 2 daughters that I met also when I was in Paris to work with you at the intensive we did last year, I think. Because they also do sports, I guess you told me. But they are not into hand balancing that much.
They both do handstand, but it's not their main discipline. So, as a general thing, I don't think parents should be. Usually in gymnastics, in sport like gymnastics, usually it's not recommended for the parents to coach their kids, although there are examples that it works. But in the world of gymnastics, I've seen some different bad examples on that. And mainly for the separation of your family and the coach, as a teenager, I spend more time with my coaches than with my parents. You know, you go to school in the morning, you go to train for 4 hours, you come back, you do homework, and go to sleep, and then have dinner with your family. You know, that was kind of my childhood. So having, you know, if you spend all your practice with your family and then add it, it could be very challenging.
Yeah.
And even when you know, sometimes my girls want to, you know, I get into this coach mode and tell them, like, do I really want to tell them to do it? No, they need to ask me. If when they want, I help them, and I give them, you know, the correct technique.
Yeah, sure. And are they like interested in what you do? Like, are they kind of supporting you? Are they like very interested in what you do, or how is their reaction to? Because I mean,
they grew into it. They saw me doing handstand from day one. So, you know, like, it's not something, it's very normal for them.
Because in general, I mean, it's nothing common that your dad says, like, I'm a handstand teacher or something. You know, maybe more common nowadays, but when you started, even less common, because there's just a few teachers that teach that specific skill in this niche. Yeah,
I mean, I'm very different than the average parent of their friend, but you know, for them, it's normal, and yeah.
Okay, nice. And in your process, like, how supportive were your parents to say, like, okay, I allow you to do this, follow this path, because you also did this communication, like education?
I mean, you know, like, there was a point, you know, I don't take it as criticism, but when I told my mom I'm going for this audition, he was like, are you sure you want to go to the, you know, I was already above 30. And without clear prospect of a career, and it's not like the rational thing to do. But after they saw me perform for the first time, when they came to visit me in Vegas, they realized how, you know, fulfilled and happy and in my element I was on stage, and they realized that, you know, I'm doing the right thing for me. But it's not always people who, you know, the running away to the circus. It's you know, this cliche, but it's you know, you have to take risks to do it. But if you're passionate about it and you enjoy what you're doing, then you know it's the right thing. And I did feel that immediately there. And then continued to, and then when I finished the show, I suddenly realized that I also enjoyed teaching. I never had a teaching. I never had planned to be a teacher or a handstand teacher or an acrobatic teacher or a gymnastics coach. But I started to do it as like a necessity, and then realized that I really enjoyed sharing what I do with the student, and learned a lot just by teaching. I never kind of learned how to teach handstand from someone else. I just shared my knowledge, and over the years, the last 10 years, I've been refining my teaching technique and the way to communicate what I do. You know, and it's still evolving. I feel it's changing.
It's still evolving. I mean, even in the last 5 years, I feel like things are changing as well in your coaching and your teaching. So every time I'm coming to a workshop, there are different new drills. You know, they're just some details are changed, or you changed your head position a little bit or something. You know, some little details that you can see. And I still find it like so interesting how long it takes to digest some information that you gave me 5 years ago already. Some of them I understand today in the workshop. I'm like, today's the first time I understand what he says, because it sounds so simple, but it's so hard to bring it into practice, right? So even you know all those things, like pointing your feet and tucking your pelvis, and it's so hard to bring it to practice. Then just talking about it is not enough. You need to really like practice a lot. And that's also what I saw in your work, that you're practicing still a lot, and you're not only teaching, but you're still like a student in that case. So how important is it for you to also still be a student and still learning new things and evolving in your because you're also juggling now, I see, much more than a few years ago, I guess. And you're still learning new skills. I think that's also important for your practice, I guess.
So I mean, it's when I turned 40 and I moved to Europe, I had the first time I met Claude, he introduced me to head balancing. But I was like, I told him, Claude, I'm already 30 years old and I don't want to, my neck is, I didn't want to take a risk. I said, okay, let's just focus on handstand. And then when I turned 40, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. you know, and I started playing with head balancing, and I met Claude also one time, and my friend Yuval Oz, who also studied with Claude, already he was doing already head balancing, so he gave me a few tips, and very fast it became part of my daily practice, my daily routine. And it was really nice because it brought me to this beginner mode and excitement of learning every day something. So for the last 10 years, I've been integrating head balancing as part of my daily routine. Usually, I do every 4 sets of handstand, I do 1 set of headstand.
Okay.
Kind of, and then do about 10 to 15 minutes cumulative on my head in every practice. And then that brought me, I saw an old circus trick, people doing headstand and juggling. And then I said, okay, I'm going to learn how to juggle 3 balls on my head. And then just the process of learning that trick made me say, okay, if I'm juggling on my head, I'd better learn basic juggling. And then juggling has become also part of my daily practice, which also brought me to this beginner mode. And the ability to daily or on a regular basis learn new skills or patterns, even if it's not directly related to handstand, it's kind of like gives me the sensation that I learned a new trick today, and it fills you with some motivation to do some more. Whereas in hand balancing, I rarely learn really new tricks. It's more refinement and style or how I do the skills, rather than learning the one-arm handstand or a new shape or a new position. So this actually, like the head balancing and juggling and balancing things on my all these tasks, circus related balance tasks, I find them to be very enriching for my practice, that I still enjoy anyway, but it's a little extra. And
what's next on the list? Like, if we talk about something else that you would be curious about, maybe nothing movement related, like, let's say people go into cooking more or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, for now, I'm very grateful that I'm still passionate about handstand, head balancing, the juggling, and along the, I'm teaching more. I'm teaching also in a circus school, which has been very interesting. Since I work also with artists, people who are going to go on stage eventually with handstand or other discipline that they do. So it's a little different crowd. And then over there at the circus school, I'm also constantly inspired by all these young artists in their disciplines, whether they're jugglers, acrobats, aerial acrobats. There's many different circus disciplines that I'm constantly surrounded with. And this energy of people with dreams who are working towards their goals is very enriching. So I don't know what's if there's going to be another thing that's going to catch me, but even from what I'm doing, there's so much I'm still learning and excited to show up in the morning and practice. And maintaining that passion that I had 30 years ago when I started gymnastics, for example. So I'm very, very grateful that I have this opportunity and privilege to do what I love.
And also the passion about teaching people, I guess, right? That also must be a big part of your work, because also that's what I realized in the last 5 years. I was teaching people. I realized I really like to work with people and just understand their body type or what they can work on, and finding the exact exercises for them at this point where they can challenge themselves and not get super frustrated by doing it, because you need to be in the long run, in the process that must be challenging, but not super too much, We talked about it before, about this 80% rule. You say in the exercise you do, you should be 80% successful and then 20% you fail. That's a good range. And then when you get better, of course, you can change that. What I see is many people, they challenge themselves too much, I think, and they jump to the next step too fast. And then they block themselves from evolving probably at this point, right?
It's overwhelming. And when you do a skill that beyond your current level, instead of being able to refine, and you spend too much time in your practice failing and falling because you're stubborn. Many people who go after handball, they're so stubborn, you have to. Yeah. But then you spend most of the practice trying again and again and again the same skill, instead of reducing the level of the skill you're working and refining it. Yeah. And only when you're ready, move to the next progression. Yeah. And this is a concept that I also, in my own practice, I try to apply in my own, when I'm learning a skill. Yeah. And then also when teaching. Yeah. So you see always, even in my advanced workshop, I always go back to the basics, because usually the reason why people are stagnating or not evolving is because something is missing in the basics. This is very typical for people who don't have, who learned it on their own or don't have a proper training background.
Yeah, that's also something I see, that many people, they come to me and say, no, I was teaching myself, I didn't have a teacher. And I say, yeah, you can see that because some positions, they are just not accessible, right? And you need someone observing that at some point to give you the right cues where you can improve. I think it's very hard to find out by yourself. Some people do it, but I think it's so valuable to have a teacher. Also, that's why I stick with you, and also the relation you have with your students is very unique for me, because I had many teachers the last 5 years, and I was with Merlin, my coach in Frankfurt, for 5 years as well. But also with you, I was when I came to your intensive last year in Paris, and that was so being in a family basically, because we spent time with your family as well, and it was just a very unique experience to be at your house as well, and you were sharing with us your barbecue and your garden and your house. So that was also apart from the handstand practice, which was amazing because we've been training 30 hours in 5 days, I think, 6 hours per day. Super intense. I almost broke apart after 3 days. I was wow, it's too much for me. But also the level of people that you invited there was so high. So I felt like I'm a complete beginner again because of all those people around. But that was very interesting how you shared your personal space as well. So is that something that you still want to do? And is it something that gives you a lot of energy to bring that to your students as well? Yeah, I mean, in general, whether
my intensive at home or my general intensive, I think it's important, this 6 hours a day setting allows you to go deeper into the practice. And of course, after what happened outside the gym or the space that we practice is also part of it. Whether it's exchange of ideas or just knowing people. I enjoy the fact that I bring people from around the world. They have a common interest, in this case handstand, and then you make these connections from all over the world with people who have the same passion, the same interest. So this is, something I really enjoy on a personal level, and also to see these connections that happen.
Yeah, and it was a special experience because, we had people from Greece and from Germany and from France, I think, from Israel, some people. And it was a nice bunch of people just being focused on the same skill, just from different countries. And you said, we exchanged lots of ideas when we had a barbecue in the evening. And I think that was a big part for me also to learn a lot about their experience and their upbringing and stuff.
Yeah, and they're all different, and their background that led them to where they're at.
Exactly. So from your perspective, because that's an important question for many people that do or start with a handstand, for just a normal person, what do you think, how many hours per week they should practice? Do you have any general ideas for that? Because that could be interesting for someone asking that.
I mean, I usually I've been asked this question many times, and I don't have an answer. Usually it starts. I think one of the most important thing in a practice like handstand is consistency. So choose depending on how much time you have and what goals you have, where you're heading. If there's one thing is to develop a regular handstand, and then there's another thing, develop a one-arm handstand, which is a very advanced level skill. But finding, whether it's, I always prefer a few days a week, like 4 to 5 days a week, start with, half an hour, and then move up from there, but maintain this consistency. Starting, making sure that when you start, you don't overwhelm yourself with the amount of work. Also, there's different issues like mobility and shoulder mobility and spine mobility and basic strength that needs to be developed in order to move on to the next level. But I base all of my practice around the handstand, so that's where we start from day one, and then little by little add to that, depending on the abilities of the students. Some people are more flexible naturally, and some people need to spend a few years just getting into this basic ranges of motion in the shoulders and the back in order to start, holding the handstand comfortably.
And I think that's the hard part about the handstand, because it's not like in strength training, you have very you know exactly what to do at what point to get stronger and stuff. But in handstand, it's weird sometimes that even after a few months, you don't improve, and then suddenly there's a jump to the next level, and you don't really understand how it happens. It was very hard for me to accept that it was so uncontrollable. I couldn't control many things, but just had to be patient and believe in the process and stuff. And that's such a unique feature about the handstand practice, right? How did you find yourself in this process? What kind of other qualities could you learn from the handstand practice? What's your biggest learnings from the practice?
I mean, the fact that there's always something to learn and always something to improve. Again, I'm not a good example for the general public because I've been doing it for so many years before I decided to go deep. But one thing I think could help many people who begin, always work with your current abilities, or whether it's flexibility or strength, in order to find a comfortable position in the handstand, and then continue to develop your ranges of motion in order to go deeper, if this is something that you're interested to do, because there's a lot of investment included in changing the way your body is positioned. Okay, so but start. You can, if you, for example, you don't have flexible shoulders or upper body, you can still adjust your handstand. So maybe don't go for the deep tuck. Make a higher tuck that doesn't require so much range of motion. Become comfortable in this position, and over time develop more thoracic mobility that will allow you to go deeper into positions.
And it's such a nice skill to also, like you said, practice many different areas. I saw that in the beginning, I didn't know that my mobility or flexibility is holding me back so much, right? So then you start the handstand practice to realize, it's still holding me back. So you start working on the flexibility, which is a nice tool, the handstand, to realize I have some issues here in the shoulder, and there is it again, and here it is again. So I think it's such a nice feedback for you, the handstand, to work on many different body parts, right? And working on patience as well. So it's a very nice tool. And like I said, over the last 5 years, I realized how long it takes to digest some information. So that was such a big learning for me, that you told me exactly the same things 5 years ago, but today you tell them to me and I can suddenly do them on the wall when we practice.
And this is a typical thing also, the first time I met Claude, some of the thing he commented, I was like, okay, but I could not figure it out. And then a few years passed of daily practice, and then suddenly some of the things now it makes sense. Now it clicked, and now I understand it. So the knowledge was there, but until you can manifest it in your practice, in your body, then it's just knowledge. It's not real. It's information. It's not real knowledge. In that sense.
And that's a big difference, I think, right? This information or knowledge or experience in it, that's wisdom in the end, because if you practice it consistently, then you get the experience and have it inside your body.
Right? So a lot of it, a lot I learned from my practice, and then a lot also I learned from sharing my practice in workshops or with students, where you have to find different solutions for teaching the same skill to different people.
Yeah.
You know, how you teach, you can teach the same skill, someone who's very flexible and strong, and then someone who has limitations, and you need to be creative and find ways for them to still do the skill, but that fits their current abilities.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
You know, so this is something that I'm still learning, and I always try to stay open and not force the same technique to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like talking about the future a little bit, so do you have any goals for yourself or for your teaching workshops where you want to go, or is it you're already on your track and you're just happy the way it is, or are you into, I don't know, any special goal that you still have?
Yeah, I mean, I still plan to, now I teach on a regular basis in the circus school, so it takes, during the week, I spend 3 days a week, kind of in a full-time position there. And I continue to teach, and I also teach online at home, and I'm probably going to launch soon an app that will include most of my teaching techniques and be available to a larger number of people who want to explore handstands. So it's going to be kind of a good tool for them to develop, or people who have done my workshop, or people who don't have a chance to meet me in workshop. They will have all the information about not all of it, but a lot of it, and the tools to start developing their handstands. Yeah. So hopefully that will happen in the next year.
Cool. Because it's maybe interesting for some people who listen to this interview. Also, they ask themselves, how can I connect to you, or how can I? Because they see your Instagram videos or something, they're like, oh, what's going on? So what's he doing? So like you said, you do online coaching as well, which I attended many years as well. Yeah. Very efficient. So when I started, I was thinking, it's not the same as meeting you in person, because I met you on many workshops before. And I was skeptical about it. I didn't know if it works, but then
I started during COVID. I was also skeptical about it, but it happens to be specifically for handstand. It's very valuable, because in these live classes you can give real-time feedback. Which is important for any practitioner. Yeah. So, the nature of the practice is hundreds of repetitions of the same skills over and over and over. Yeah. But you want to make sure that you practice them correctly. Yeah. And then meeting a coach once in a while, even if online, can like, oh, no, your shoulders are not in the right place. Make sure the shoulders go here and the hips go there, and you're relaxing your neck and you're breathing, etc. And catching these mistakes or patterns is important. Yeah. And to prevent you from doing it for years, and then it's difficult to get rid of these bad habits.
Because if I tell that to some people and I tell them like, I'm doing online coaching and I'm doing handstands in front of the camera, they're like, so what's going to happen? Like it cannot work, right? But I wouldn't be where I am today, because I did like your online classes for so many years, and it changed so much my handstand. So it's very effective.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Also with the students that worked with me along in the online coaching, that was interesting to see how much they evolved over weeks. And I saw it on the display as well, right? Because you're also following the process of your fellow practitioners. That was very, very nice that I could still have you as my teacher without being in Paris all the time, right? So I think also for some people that could be interesting to connect with you, because you're still doing them every week.
I still have, it's limited to a number of people, but I still teach on a regular basis, and some private classes that I give. But the main thing, whether it's workshops or even the class, I'm not only, and I want to look at it more, I'm teaching people how to practice handstand rather than teaching them how to do a handstand. Because the real knowledge happens through the practice, the solo practice, where you do most of your handstand per week. So just making sure that you're in the right path and you're practicing correctly is one of the things that I try to share in my events. It's kind of like educate people how to practice their handstands. Basically.
And I was super lucky that I found you, and you gave me so many exercises I could do. I'm still doing every day almost now, because it took me such a long time, like I said, to digest the information and do them correctly, because you're very precise in the way you're teaching, like circus style, which was new to me, because coming from calisthenics and strength training, or even CrossFit, you're not focusing so much on the technique and to make it also look effortless, but also it feels effortless, right? Because that's also what you said. Handstand should feel easy. That's a good sign that you're on the right track.
Good handstand feels light. That's a nice way to, a good indication that you're doing the right thing.
And if you saw my process now the last 5 years. So maybe you can also say a few words, just what you saw and what my biggest thing was and my improvement. Because it's
no, I mean, so even the presentation today that we did in the at the workshop was a good indication. Like, you could see someone who's been doing this sequence and preparing for that moment, that difficult moment of presenting your sequence, performing your sequence in front of other people. Seeing you being able to quiet down your nerves, just go and do what you do in practice was really nice to see. Even if we didn't do the one-arm handstand, so that was seeing the fruit of all the work you have done in order to reach this level, and also the slow evolution. We haven't done one-arm handstand today, but you have evolved a lot in the last few years. And there's still a lot of places to improve, so that's, and also see the time you invested on maybe working on areas that you're not as strong, like your lack of flexibility, which has improved a lot, but you also invested so much time to improve your ranges of motion. I never had to really, I've been doing a middle split and pancakes since 1980. So it's I just maintain these ranges. It's very different than someone who, cannot open their shoulders or don't have a flexible back as beginners. So so it's really nice to see that you're continuing to evolve, and you're still passionate about it, and also sharing it with your students and so on, and curious to see where it's going, in the future.
Because that's also what I found interesting, that you're still able to teach complete beginners, because like you said, you've never worked for your flexibility as an adult, which is very different than having it as you grow up, your upbringing is more gymnastics-like, or you grow up in a circus or something. So that was interesting to see that you also know for people that have poor flexibility, how to do those positions.
I mostly learned that through my interaction with students in the last 15 years. There's one thing working with a Cirque du Soleil artist and teaching them a handstand, and someone who has no background in gymnastics or acrobatics, and then you need to basically give them solutions for their inability to go to these ranges, and then adapt. And so I constantly learn. The more people I teach, I also learn how to change my cueing depending on the person that's in front of me. And of course, constantly learning different stretching techniques. It's not what I focus on in my events, but it's also something that I invest time on educating myself as well. There's a difference between doing a split and teaching a split.
Of course. Because that's something maybe to finish this interview as well, to give to the people that are kind of intimidated when they see your skills on Instagram. They're like, I'm never going to reach this. And it's important, I think, to mention you don't have to reach this level to do a handstand practice, right? Because there's something, you can do so many things on the wall and still improve your flexibility and mobility. And I also learned that through you, that I have to work with my capacity, what I have, what I can bring to the table. And you can give me advice on how to use what I have. So I think for everybody who's intimidated, it's important to tell them, no, you can still approach you. And
I think, hand balancing, it's a circus art. Okay, it comes from a performance art, and I always give the example. Claude, my teacher, he was never flexible. He was very strong, but he could not do a split. And so he never performed with a split. So he just did small straddle, one-arm handstand and was a master in it. So, you know, having this perfect mobility like a professional gymnast is not necessarily something you have to have. It's going to be nice if you have all these ranges, but you can do so many things also without extreme flexibility.
Yeah.
Or strength, for that matter. You don't need a planche to do a one-arm handstand.
Yeah.
It's definitely nice to have, but it's not that a must. And then you can still have, like, invest years on developing the skills and taking a certain direction depending on the goals that you set for yourself.
Yeah. Sure.
And if you want to add, if you want to develop the split, it's definitely possible. But I recommend to educate yourself also in different stretching techniques and go to mobility workshops. And there's so much today that's available. In my events, I focus on handstand because that's my specialty.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you very much already. And for maybe someone who wants to practice with you, is there something that you would tell them that they can approach you and maybe...
Yeah, I mean, the main place to follow what I do is on Instagram.
Yeah.
It has become Instagram. And then you can always reach up and ask a question. And I highly recommend to join one of my events, my weekend events.
Or online classes.
On online classes, I usually post my upcoming workshop in every post I do on a weekly basis, so you can see if I'm coming to town. It would be a good way for you to start the process or to improve your handstands if you're not a beginner.
Yeah.
I always have like one session in the morning for beginners, people who have no experience, and then a session in the afternoon for intermediate and advanced practitioners.
Yeah.
And there's always something to learn as well.
Yeah. Which I still saw today after 5 years. Still so much to learn. Yeah. So thank you very much already for the last 5 years. I'm very happy. Thank you also for making this interview. It's very nice. I'm super grateful to have found you as my teacher. It changed the way I practiced as well. And
nice.
I think
I'm happy to hear that.
You changed many people's practice plans or the way of practicing, I think. So I think that's something you can be proud of as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, and good luck in your big move to Australia.
Thank you very much. And
I hope to see you there or somewhere in this side of the world.
Yeah, we keep training online, and then you come to Australia to teach.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Yubal.
Yeah.
Merci.
Yeah.